Murray Fromson in the Cu Chi district of South Vietnam, David Culhane in Boston, and Bill Elder in New Orleans.
Good evening. President-elect Richard Nixon goes on nationwide television and radio tonight to tell the American people the names of the men he has selected to serve in his cabinet. The men he will name as cabinet secretaries are almost certain to be State, William Rogers, former Attorney General; Defense, Representative Melvin Laird of Wisconsin; Treasury, David Kennedy, a Chicago banker; Attorney General John Mitchell, Mr. Nixon's campaign manager; Health, Education, and Welfare, Lieutenant Governor Finch of California; Housing and Urban Development, Governor Romney of Michigan; Labor, Dean George Schultz of the University of Chicago; Transportation, Governor Volpe of Massachusetts; Interior, Governor Walter Hickel of Alaska; Commerce, Maurice Stans, former Budget Director; Agriculture, Chancellor Clifford Hardin of Nebraska University; and Postmaster General Winton Blunt, President of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Before leaving New York for Washington today, Mr. Nixon named Chicago banker Robert Mayo to be Budget Director. Mike Wallace reports.
In a sense, this was Mr. Nixon's first official cabinet announcement. Mayo said the president-elect will attend all cabinet meetings, a member of the cabinet by special presidential directive. Then Mayo talked of his chore as budget director.
But one of the things we have to look at carefully is how to establish a policy of prudent budget restraint. And I use those words advisedly. Flexible budget policy, not just the government shall be slashed by X%, things like that, no good. But the priorities of programs in each of the cabinet departments and in turn throughout the government are one of the most important evaluations that the new cabinet and the new president have to face. This is a tough challenge. I welcome it. I will do what I can. Thank you.
Then Mr. Nixon laid down some ground rules for his cabinet appointees.
One policy decision that I've already made, and I have indicated this to each of the cabinet designees, is that each of them will follow my policy of making no comments on substantive matters until after the 20th of January. We do have one president at a time. We have one Secretary of State, one Secretary of HEW, and we feel that the outgoing administration during this period has the right to announce the policies, to make the policies, and only until we enter government in official capacities after the 20th will we be answering such questions. All of you will be interested in what the Secretary of State's foreign policy is and how it differs from mine, and so on down the line. You are welcome to ask each member of the cabinet on that point, but if any of them answer those questions, he will have difficulty being in the cabinet. Thank you.
Mr. Nixon met this morning also with the Vice President-elect Spiro Agnew. Mr. Agnew arrived and departed unheard by members of the press, but he and his family will be on display in tonight's telecast from Washington. Mike Wallace, CBS News, at the President-elect's headquarters in New York.
Part of the Smithsonian Institution will become a ballroom the night of January 20th, following Mr. Nixon's inauguration. The chairman of the inaugural ball committee says the president-elect has decided not to center the celebration at the Washington Armory because it's too much like a barn, but will instead hold the traditional balls in 5 downtown hotels and the Smithsonian's Museum of History and Technology.
Could you go back to that slide of Margaret with the elephant?
22. GAF Anscorama is the most advanced slide projector you can buy. It's got an accessory called the Slide Seeker that goes back or forward to any slide. Just dial the number, push the button, and there it is. The only problem with the GAF Anscorama is people watch it instead of your slides.
This Christmas, the GAF Viewmaster home theater comes with a projector, hundreds of stereo pictures of places all over the world, a GAF Viewmaster stereo viewer, and an educational little book. For $11.95, your family can be in show business.
The people at GAF make cameras, film, copying machines, building supplies, chemicals, and a lot more.
A TWA jetliner was hijacked today on a flight to Miami and forced to fly to Cuba. Federal officials discounted speculation that Black Panther leader Eldridge Cleaver might have been among the 39 aboard and denied earlier reports that the FBI would investigate that possibility. Cleaver, now a federal fugitive, is being sought as a parole violator. The TWA flight originated in St. Louis and was hijacked after leaving Nashville, where Chris Clark of WLAC-TV has the story.
It was a familiar story, but with a twist. Trans World Airlines conducted an extensive campaign promoting its Flight 496 out of Nashville, the inaugural non-stop flight to Miami from the Music City. Pretty stewardesses distributed Florida oranges, and city officials were present to see the flight off. Golf pro Mason Rudolph boarded the flight en route from his home in Clarksville, Tennessee, to the Lehigh Acres Golf Club near Palm Beach for a Pro-Am tourney. And Western singing star Tex Ritter almost decided against taking the flight because of a bout with the flu, but felt well enough to fill 2 engagements in Florida. 20 minutes after takeoff from Nashville, Captain Dennis L. Maloney of Kansas City radioed Atlanta FAA control, "A guy has a gun at my back. He's forcing us to go to Havana. We are proceeding there." Thomas W. Owen, the airline's district manager, was asked if there's any way, short of searching every passenger, to prevent future hijacking.
Nobody seems to know yet. It's inconvenience to passengers. It's costly to airlines because we don't get paid for this operations to Havana. So I assure you, we're looking for a way.
Mason Rudolph and Tex Ritter had joked with city officials before takeoff that this would be a good day to visit Cuba. They didn't know how right they were. This is Chris Clark reporting from Nashville.
The U.S. Supreme Court this week turned down new efforts by New Orleans businessman Clay Shaw to block his long-delayed trial on charges of conspiring to assassinate President Kennedy. Today, the New Orleans prosecutor who brought the case against Shaw set a new trial date. WWL-TV newsman Bill Elder reports.
District Attorney Jim Garrison said that the federal government had done everything from offering him a federal judgeship to an investigation of his income tax returns. Garrison again maintained that the CIA was attempting to halt his investigation. He then said he had set the date for the trial for January the 21st, the day after President-elect Richard Nixon's inauguration.
We are requesting that the Clay Shaw case be set for trial on January the 21st, so that the case will be going to trial with the hope that the new government in Washington will be one that realizes that it cannot interfere with justice in state courts, that it has no right to and it has no power to. Now, I must add this. To be realistic about it, you have to understand, and it is important for me to mention this, and I don't mention it to be dramatic, but I must let you know that these efforts to interfere with the case have been because the federal government does not want the case to go to trial.
There was renewed trouble today at the San Francisco State College, scene of demonstrations and violence for more than a month. John Lawrence reports.
The 5-week student strike gained momentum today as sympathetic teachers set up picket lines and threatened to join the strike. More than 100 members of the American Federation of Teachers marched in support of the student demands for greater control of college courses and faculty appointments. The 600-man police force, which has occupied the campus since the outbreak of violence last week, broke up several student demonstrations today, but was blocked by the teachers.
Lieutenant, we want you to know that we're exercising our constitutional right. That if you wish to arrest us, we're going to sue you, but we will go absolutely peaceful. We expect no violence on the part of the police. Okay, now what's your intention? Are you going to let this continue, or are you going to arrest us?
You're picketing. You continue your picketing.
All right, fine. Fine. Okay, back to picketing.
The police stayed away from the teachers, but throughout the day made selective arrests of student strike leaders, invading the student religious house, the commons and cafeteria, and library. Then police surrounded a group of about 500 demonstrating students, squeezing them together, and pushed in to arrest the leaders. With no room to move, some in the crowd became hysterical. One of the injured, a girl, trampled in the panicked crowd. Today's trouble at San Francisco State did not include student sabotage nor overpowering police beatings. But once again, the violent signs of the struggle overshadowed the issues. John Lawrence, CBS News, San Francisco.
Back in the old days, men were the masters, women were the slaves. Women had the duties, men had all the rights. Then, in 1920, women won their rights. And one by one, they won them all.
You've come a long way, baby, to get where you got to today. You got your own cigarette now, baby. You've come a long, long way.
Introducing new Virginia Slims, the slim cigarette for women only, tailored for the feminine hand. Slimmer than the fat cigarettes men smoke, with flavor women like. Rich, mild Virginia flavor. New extra-long Virginia Slims in the slim purse pack.
You got your own cigarette now, baby. You've come a long, long way.
In Paris today, the communists and allies were still bogged down on that issue of seating arrangements for the expanded peace talks. But a Viet Cong move gave at least one indication that the wrangling may not go on too much longer. The guerrillas announced that one of their top leaders, Tran Bu Kim, will be flying to Paris to head their delegation. They call him their foreign minister, and he's known to be a member of the Viet Cong ruling group. In Vietnam, Allied units reported killing more than 150 enemy troops in a series of clashes below the demilitarized zone near the Cambodian frontier and in the Mekong Delta. American losses were described as light. American officials in Saigon came out with their most optimistic pacification report of the war today. They said that almost 3/4 of South Vietnam's 17 million people now live in relatively secure areas controlled by the Saigon government. According to those officials, Viet Cong control has dropped to just over 13% of the population, with the remaining South Vietnamese living in contested areas. Tonight we get a look at one of those contested areas in the first of a two-part special report on pacification by CBS News correspondent Murray Fromson.
According to the new yardstick used to measure the progress of pacification, most of the hamlets in this district are considered contested, which means the government is trying to break the grip of the Viet Cong. Just the other night, a few hundred yards up this road, a Vietnamese couple was murdered by the Viet Cong. And the next night, a few hundred yards down this road, another man was assassinated. All three victims were former members of the Viet Cong who had rallied to the side of the government. They were Chu Hoi. But the fact that their homes were within the shadow of this compound, the district headquarters of Cu Chi, was no guarantee to protect their lives.
Well, I would say as long as we have guerrillas in the outlands that can come in and harass government activity in the village and hamlet officials, we can't say that it is totally governmental control. I say that it is a very secure area, but we still have the possibility of enemy activity.
In Cu Chi, as in other parts of South Vietnam, the progress of pacification is difficult to measure. But more than ever, the key index is security, and it still has a long way to go. In Cu Chi, they have stopped counting the number of all the trucks and other vehicles blown away by explosives. There have been that many. The aftermath is always the same. No one saw the mines planted, they saw no evil, and heard no evil.
And they don't hear anything. Well, we see no, they don't see it. They don't hear anything. Didn't hear anything, didn't see anything. Huh? They were asleep in their bunker. Huh?
Out of fear, or perhaps genuine disbelief in the government, well over half the 55,000 people in Cu Chi are still influenced by the communists. And the hopes of winning them over depend on security. There is no point building schools if the VC can burn them down. There is no point training teachers if they will be assassinated. For years, American units have provided what security existed here. Now, the job is gradually being given to the local militia, the regional and popular forces. In Cu Chi, the regional forces sweep the terrain nearly every day, looking for enemy redoubts. Contact is infrequent. When they draw sniper fire, the response is loud and long, made more so by supporting U.S. helicopter gunships and artillery. Frequently scorned by Americans because of their timidity, the regional forces are gradually becoming the muscle of pacification. They are operating from better constructed outposts, and these mini-forts are establishing a government presence where none existed before. The regional forces are defending themselves with American rifles, captured communist mortars, anything they can get their hands on, or concoct, like this homemade bomb used to discourage enemy probing along the barbed wire of the outpost. There are some signs of progress, and American advisors note them carefully. In Cu Chi, Major Donnie Pierce is the senior man. He works closely with a civilian deputy, Tony Cunicello. Here they talk to a rice mill owner who fled the hamlet during the Tet Offensive. Now he's back.
He's decided since Tet that the security has improved to such a degree that he can come back now and invest his money and rebuild his rice mill. He will employ another 7 people. He's also decided on reconstructing his own home and bringing his family back here.
But sometimes there are setbacks, too. There is still fighting going on here. There are incidents in which American GIs are trigger-happy, firing a barrage against suspected enemy positions when a few shots would do just as well. Inevitably, the civilians get hurt. What may be regarded as a military necessity also presents a problem for the pacification teams.
We had a very bad incident here recently when a tank fired directly into the village after it took a few AK rounds and killed 2 people. And the people in the hamlet immediately reacted very strongly to it, more strongly than I thought they might, judging from other incidents that I've seen in the past. We were able to calm them somewhat by coming through with Palladium payments and attending the funeral, showing our concern, doing what we could to rebuild the homes that were damaged, in every way showing that the Americans were very, very sorry for the incident and we tried not to have it happen again.
So, pacification does not stand still. It moves forward, it moves back. But what is the balance? What is the trend in Cu Chi and in all of South Vietnam? An effort is being made to measure this, and we'll look at the measurements in our next report. Murray Fromson, CBS News in Vietnam.
South Korea's foreign minister told the United Nations today that communist North Korea is preparing to throw up to 30,000 commandos into a major guerrilla war against his country. The minister was addressing the General Assembly's Political Committee as it opened debate on Soviet bloc proposals that the UN get out of South Korea. Communist delegates walked out before his speech. In Northern Ireland, Prime Minister Terence O'Neill today fired his controversial Home Affairs Minister, William Craig, for suggesting a Rhodesian-style breakaway from Britain. The move could intensify Northern Ireland's religious crisis. Craig has been strongly supported by Protestant extremists in resisting demands by the Roman Catholic minority for equality in jobs, housing, voting, and other civil rights.
Can the right denture cleanser really make a difference? Listen to Mrs. Wilma Felder, a denture wearer.
There really is a difference. I feel so confident knowing my dentures are really clean, odor-free, thanks to Polydent tablets.
Polydent tablets fight denture stain and odors safely with effervescent oxygen action. Look, this denture material is covered with tough food stains. Drop it into water with a Polydent tablet. In minutes, your dentures are cleaner, brighter, fresher. Get Polydent tablets.
You know, this could be a problem for us denture wearers if it weren't for Polygrip, the modern cream adhesive. What does Polygrip do that powder adhesives can't? Well, say this glass is your denture. Powders can leave gaps, weak spots. Your dentures can let go. But not with Polygrip. No gaps, no letting go, no embarrassment. Try something solid for a change. Get Polygrip. Then go have yourself an ear of corn.
Senator William Proxmire told a Senate investigating subcommittee today that he will introduce legislation to protect consumers against possible abuses by credit rating bureaus. Proxmire called for a bill that would require the bureaus to keep all information confidential, provide an opportunity for persons to correct adverse or wrong information, and weed out outdated information. Agriculture Secretary Orville Freeman announced today that starting in February, the federal food stamp program will be liberalized so that the poor can buy more food with less cash. The increased benefits will boost the cost of the program from $280 million to $305 million a year. But Freeman said it would cost $1 billion to reach all the people who qualify and bring them up to minimum diet standards. The nation's unemployment rate dropped to a 15-year low last month, 3.3% of the workforce. The jobless rate for Negroes and other non-whites dropped almost 1% to 6.5%, but remained more than double the rate for whites. There was a $1,000 a couple fundraising dinner in Boston last night to help pay off the presidential campaign deficit of the late Senator Robert Kennedy. CBS News correspondent David Culhane reports.
Pineapple float, filet mignon, and Beaujolais Saint Louis 1966. Hardly a $1,000 menu, but the hundreds of people present enjoyed the atmosphere of select privilege. Then Ted Kennedy told the guests how grateful the family is for all their help, and he introduced his mother, Mrs. Rose Kennedy.
Probably many of you remember the Indiana campaign when Mother came out to that campaign. She campaigned for my brother, and at that time, as she was being asked by some of the newspaper people about the large expenditures of funds, and she responded at that time and said, well, it's my money and you can see what, and I can spend it the way I like. So we've invited Mother tonight. To really show her whose money we were really spending out in Indiana. So on behalf of my wife, Joan, and myself, we want to introduce the dearest mother and sweetest mother, and if the Kennedys ever amount to anything, it's because of her, my mother.
Mrs. Kennedy spoke movingly of her assassinated son, Robert.
How sad we are that we shall never see Bobby again. With his tousled, wind-blown hair, when he used to come to see his father and me, with a child riding piggyback, another one or two by the hands. What joy he brought us. What a aching void he has left in our house, which nothing will be able to fill. We admired him, we loved him, and we miss him tremendously. A devoted husband, an adored brother, and a beloved son. I know that I shall never see his like again. Thank you.
Arthur Hayes Sulzberger, chairman of the board of the New York Times, died today at his Manhattan apartment. He was 77. Sulzberger, in 1961, retired as publisher of the Times, a post he held for more than 25 years. The first of two sets of telescopes aboard America's orbiting astronomical observatory was turned on today, and ground controllers said the information they're receiving is excellent. The satellite's designed to provide new data on the universe and individual stars.
Do you know how to charge a battery, a set of spark plugs, a voltage regulator? Simple. As simple as signing your name with the one and only supercharger, a Phillips 66 credit card. With a Phillips 66 credit card, you can charge gasoline, oil, a battery, tires, windshield wipers, you name it. You can charge a nice big meal or a good night's sleep at any Best Western or Quality Courts motel. You can even rent a Hertz car with it. The supercharger lets you charge almost anything at more than 23,000 Phillips 66 stations, 1,000 marinas, and 400 airports in all 50 states. Get a supercharger application from any Phillips 66 dealer and charge something.
Secretary of State Dean Rusk and William Rogers, the man who will be named tonight as his successor, had a breakfast meeting at the State Department today. The men reportedly had a general discussion of the hour-long session. In Washington, Eric Severide takes a look at the cabinet and the possible future role of the new Secretary of State.
The president-elect presents his cabinet tonight on television as a collectivity, as a group. But the cabinet is the one group in the federal establishment that rarely acts as a group. That hasn't even been tried since Mr. Eisenhower's day. Its members have power over their own departments. They advise and work with the president as individuals. But the cabinet as an institution remains a lengthened shadow of another institution, the presidency. The Constitution does not mention a cabinet. 2 years after it was written, the first three departments were organized, State, War, and Treasury. And the word cabinet was first used by President Madison. Cabinet members are responsible to the executive, not to the Congress, though the Senate must confirm these men, and the Senate will. Only twice in a century has a cabinet appointee been rejected on a hill. The Nixon cabinet comes from the ranks of the governors, one from Congress, from business, and from the academic world. The shining political lights among Republicans, the men who filled the news this last year as possible presidential or vice presidential nominees, are not there. Rockefeller, Lindsay, Scranton, Chafee, Evans, Schaefer, Hatfield, Percy, or Brooke. None of the men chosen has a serious constituency of his own within the party. There is no Negro member, only one Southerner. The general level of competence seems to be high, the average age around 53. It is too soon to tell which of these men, if any, will become dominant as the most trusted personal advisor of the new president. Possibly Mr. Finch of California, possibly Rogers, who is to hold the ranking cabinet office as Secretary of State. William Rogers for this post was a surprise to Washington. He has brushed against foreign policy problems in his career, but only lightly. And his mood and intention is to do a lot of listening before he does a lot of talking. His reputation as an administrator is good. He gets along with Congress, knows how to reconcile abrasive personalities, and is generally liked by the press. He will wish to do what Dean Rusk wished to do when he was appointed, to stay put in Washington, not travel incessantly, as Mr. Dulles had done, and as Rusk found himself obliged to do. His advantage is the complete trust Mr. Nixon places in him, and their personal intimacy. A necessary relationship, perhaps, for a president whose own special interest is foreign affairs, and who will exert a strong hand on the big decisions involving this country and the world. Walter?
And that's the way it is. Wednesday, December 11th, 1968. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
Direct from our newsroom in New York, in color, this has been the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite.